Welcome to Relics Radio, your favorite weekly podcast dedicated to the metal detecting and treasure hunting community. Here are your hosts, Ken from Adventures in Dirt and Tony from 5280 Adventures.
So, hey, we are live. Welcome, everyone. Relics Radio, Wednesday night here in Northern Colorado. DK here with Adventures in Dirt. Good to see everyone rolling in. See you all rolling into the chat. Looking forward to tonight's guest. Can't wait to talk with him. Tons of questions. And got to bring in my co-host with the most. Let's bring him in right now. You know him as Mr. 5280 Adventures.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
I'm good. Doing really well. Yeah.
That's good. It's cooling off around here in Colorado these days.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Came on the other night. First time.
Fall is here. Yeah. It definitely made a change here in the past week. And I can slowly kind of feel our metal detecting season kind of starting to peter out here. I think there's not going to be too many more weekends that we're going to be able to get out this year.
Yeah, we need to figure out where we're traveling to get out and still be able to do it. We've got to move east, I think, a little bit.
I think so, too. Yeah, I got to tell a quick story, and hopefully our wives aren't watching right now, but I get a call from Ken this week, and he goes, hey, listen, I got to take some vacation time. And I thought I would reach out to you first before I book anything with my wife, so we can come up with where we're going on vacation to go metal detect.
Oh, he's kidding, honey. He's just kidding.
They're not watching. Come on, they're watching Housewives of Atlanta or whatever right now.
That's true, though. I did. I'm just like, hey, man, before I commit myself too much, I got some days to burn.
So,
when
absolutely.
Where are we going?
We're actually, we've got some stuff in the works. We're going to be heading probably out of state, doing some things to try to find a little bit of a warmer area coming up, so we can extend our season out a little bit.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. We haven't been out in a little while, so anything we can do to get out would be great.
Life's been happening, so
yeah, big time.
We got to finish it out strong.
Who's coming in the chat to join us tonight? I want to welcome everyone.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of people here already. Metal Sharks jumped on early for us.
What's up, J-Man? Good to see you.
Yeah. How about Dirt Digging Historian?
Excellent.
First time participating. Thank you kindly for all you do. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Welcome. Good to see you in there.
They're still here with us.
Yep.
How about Teresa?
Hello, Teresa. Yeah. She said, hey, and I said, my. I wonder if she picked up on that.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get that.
My show
Digger. Good evening, all you dirty money lovers.
What's up, Tim? Are you good to see you?
Tim said he got out this week, so
yeah,
pretty good. That's good.
Bob Rose.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Look at Tim's. Oh, well, there's Bill Hayes.
Yeah, he was a little.
Is he a birthday boy here?
Yeah, happy birthday to Bill Hayes.
Happy birthday.
That's right.
See Tim's other comment? Chicago Ron.
Yeah.
Killing it over in Colchester.
I know. I've been watching that stuff. It's crazy. I've been itching and trying to figure out how I get back over there again.
When I told you I had days to burn, we're like, well, can we get back over to England?
Well, friend Cindy was just over there too. And about every day at first thing in the morning, because she was just getting back from detecting for the day.
Right.
Send us both a text going, oh, this is what I got. Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much.
That's cool, man. She was over there and from the field too, she would share stuff with us. You know what I mean? Like she didn't have any friends with her in her group. She met them all there, but she didn't have any good friends with her. She went by herself. And so she was texting Tony and I her finds as she would find them and totally excited and stuff. So
it was great.
Yeah. Cool.
Good evening to E-Tector.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Quick hi to Robert Thompson.
Dave Crookshanks, good to see you. Welcome, everyone. Con Mullen, excellent.
Yeah, lots of people here. We got a great
Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I'm sorry, what's that?
No, we got a great show, a great guest. We've actually, I reached out to this guest a while ago, and we just having to set up a time and stuff. And I've been so anxious to talk with Greysen about everything he's got his hands on. It's gonna be a fantastic show. Fantastic. Lots of information, a lot of pictures, a lot of artifacts and relics and stories to talk about. So
I'm so into what he's interested in, what he's into. Like, I'm so into it. It's like I want to learn as much about it as I can. I can see this really becoming another expensive habit for me.
That's right. That's right.
Let's bring him on. Let's get him on.
All right, let's do this. Good morning to Mr. Greysen Reimer.
Greysen, how are you, man?
How are you?
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Going good. We're glad you can come on and spend some time with us and talk about all you're up to, man. I can't wait because I'm so interested in it. I know a lot of our listeners are interested in it too. So thanks for coming on with us.
No problem. I enjoy it.
All right. So where do we start? So Tony and I share a Google Doc sheet. So we both share it so we can see what each other writes in there. And we had just a ton of questions and some pictures of yours that we want to end up showing. So if you're listening in, it's going to be a great night. Stay tuned. But why don't we just take it back to the beginning, right? Of all things, right? Of all things, we play baseball, we go camping. How did metal detecting, interest in artifacts, where did all this interest come from?
So me and my dad have land down in Iowa. And when I was a kid, my dad used to get me into like looking for deer sheds. Have you guys ever done that before?
Absolutely.
So we're out one day and we have this creek that runs through our property. And there's this old man in the creek. And my dad he kind of got pissed, right? Because he's trespassing on our property. But my dad started talking to him, and it was the nicest old man. And he kind of showed us what he was doing. And he was looking for arrowheads down in a creek. So then fast forward a few months, I get back to where I'm from, right? Not from Iowa, back to the Midwest. And I wanted to find arrowheads in my area. So I started doing a lot of research, all of this. And one of my dad's buddies mentioned to me that on an island right where I live in my town, there was a copper spearhead found. So after that, that's what got me started. I got my Garrett 300 out there and I started detecting. And then first time out, I found this nice conical spearhead from 8,000 years ago. So that got super excited. I was hooked.
Now, did you immediately start once you found this old man in the creek and talked to your dad about what he was finding and stuff? Did you immediately start wanting to learn about that? And then when you heard about this copper spearhead, were you like, okay, like did you have any did you have any grasp of what that meant, or was it just an artifact you heard about, or did you know it could possibly have been from a copper culture era and all that stuff?
So like in Iowa, like right away when that guy found that arrowhead, and this was a stone artifact, right? Not copper with a metal detector, but right away I'm like, that's so cool. I was like, Dad, you can go look for deer sheds. I'm going to go walk these creeks. And then, so I did that. And then, I started doing some research after my dad buddy told me that. And granted, I'm like 13, 12 years old at this time. And there's really not that much online about it other than like on Facebook and a few videos on YouTube. It was a lot of my own research. So I kind of went out to this island. It was kind of a pipe dream, right? And my dad was with me that day. And I remember we dug down it was like a foot in the sand, right? And with Garrett's, that's maxing out. And I pulled it up. And I remember saying before I pulled it up, I'm like, Dad, I was like, this is going to be a copper spear point that your buddy told me about. And he's just kind of laughing, right? Like thinking I'm just some silly kid with a metal detector. And I found it. And it was more after I found that copper spearhead. That's when all the research started. And that's how I started to spend so much time looking for the old copper complex.
I bet, man. I would have done the same thing. I'd have been like,
Talk about getting hooked right away.
Right
For
away.
sure.
What Garrett were you using? Did you say you were using a Garrett? It was like an old 250 or something like that?
Yeah, it could have been a 250. Maybe it was like the 300. One of those ones with the yellow box. And then,
Sure.
Yep.
I'm trying to think back now. Maybe I think I found that spear point with the old bounty hunter, which is even more crazy because that's like a $100 machine, right? You can buy those Shopko or Walmart. But
Sure.
yeah, I used the Garrett for a long time. Got my Mind Lab Equinox 800 a year and a half ago, and that's a fantastic machine. I like it a lot.
That's what you're running with these days?
Yeah, the Equinox.
Yep. Great
everybody
machine.
that I talk to about the Equinoxes, man, they just love them. And I've been around a couple of our buddies and stuff have the Noxes as well, and fantastic machines for sure.
Yeah. So then when you found it, did you just start metal detecting after that? Or was it sort of, did you immediately start pouring into research, or was it just, I'm going to go to the parks, I'm going to go some houses, I'm going to try to, I think we were talking before the show, you said you were kind of watching like Nugget and Aqua Chigger's videos and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I was watching Nugget Noggin and Aqua Chigger when I was like probably 10, 11. So I just turned 20. I'm a sophomore in college right now. But yeah, so I never really had a park phase. I know where I grew up, it was kind of like there's the main town and then there's another little set off town. It's a little mill town along the river. So I ended up doing like all these abandoned lots. And after I did that, I was trying to find coins, couldn't really find coins because it all had been detected out. And then I started to realize there's a lot of guys that metal detect and do lots and look for coins. So then I started really to focus. Once I found that conical spearhead, did all the research, I was like, well, if I'm going to spend all my time doing this, it better be the oldest stuff out there, right? The old copper complex and fur trade. So that's how I started focusing in on that.
You're in a great area, obviously, for all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I would have found that conical spirit, I would have been like, yep,
right.
Everything else just fades away at that point.
Yeah.
So what'd you do about sort of starting your research thing? Like because like I know nothing about that aspect of what we love. Like I wouldn't even know how to start to do research. I could look at LiDAR maps and I can kind of look at what I think is advantageous landforms for where I thought maybe good setups would be for Native Americans. But other than that, like, how do you start? Do you get into the community first and start meeting a mentor maybe and all that kind of stuff? Or do you just start walking in the rivers and swinging?
So it's a weird thing with the fur trade and old copper community. It's kind of like a cult. And I mean that in a good way. Very close group of guys. So you kind of have to earn it first, right? And I guess I've kind of adopted that same framework. So like whenever I take guys out, they have to find stuff, right? And that's not so like I go to their sites. It's just because it shows a level of dedication to it, right? Because it's easy when you look on Facebook and see like me posting every day copper spearheads and musket barrels, but that really takes a lot of time and intuition, research to get that knowledge. I know the biggest number one, the first thing I love to use is LiDAR. I know you already mentioned that, but it's great. The DNR where I'm from has their own public website and it's very high definition LiDAR. So yeah,
that's a great free tool.
Yes, I like it a lot. And then also the old plat maps too, because there's so many dams on the body of water where I'm at for the whole Midwest, right? You have dams on the Mississippi, you have dams everywhere. So you don't know what is actually underwater or above the water line, etc. So if you look at the old plat maps, you kind of get a sense of what was what, back then. And then when it comes to the old copper stuff, then it's even more difficult than, let's say fur trade. Looking for flat spots, looking for places that people would have portaged their canoes, etc. And old copper and fur trade, they overlap, right? Because a good place for the archaic Native Americans would have been a great place for the fur traders, the French in the 16 and 1700s. So a lot of overlap with the two.
So really no, like, go ahead.
Life and survival, kind of really hasn't evolved and changed all that much. You're still looking for those same identical places, because if they were good then, they're going to be good now as well.
100%.
Yeah.
I've even heard these days, like if you would think that's a good camp spot, chances are everyone that came before you probably think that's a pretty good camp spot. But we just have so many changes, landform changes and developmental changes that go on around us. So I guess getting out into the sticks, getting out into some more remote areas and seeing what's there and trying to put that all together is definitely probably part of the challenge,
Yeah, no, it can be. I know what I've noticed, and I'm sure you guys notice this too. Like in your research, all the highly developed areas for, let's say, like fur trade in your guys' area, or even Civil War, Revolutionary War, Native American artifacts, they're usually right where the big cities and the towns are built on the river systems today, right? I know, like what you said, what a good spot was 1,000 years ago, 300 years ago is a good spot now. So a lot of my permissions that I get, yes, some are, miles and miles in the woods, but other ones are right in people's yards. And you just got to get the right dirt. Soil has to be perfect. And once you get that, really know what you're doing, you're good. You really are.
What do tons of questions about that?
I know. With those things that you're finding that are 6,000-7,000 years old, I know it's a general statement, but in terms of depth wise, I mean, are you talking that these things are really over a foot deep or more?
So I've run surveys on some of my copper sites before, especially when I was younger, because I'm going to school for archaeology now. But when I was, 14, 15, 13 years old, I kind of wanted to turn into a science, right? So I'd go to these places where I had found copper spearheads and I would survey them. And if you guys don't know what a survey is, it's when you take a screen, right, with wooden legs and dig basically a basketball-sized hole in the ground. And what I found out was most of these copper sites, to get to the archaic layer, it's about 3 to 2.5 feet down in the ground. Your metal detector isn't getting that deep. So I want you guys to imagine this right now. The old copper complex, these copper spear points I am finding, you have 10,000 years ago to 45,000, right? That's a lot of time. Have you ever walked in a woods before and noticed all the trees that are uprooted?
All the trees that are uprooted in the woods?
Yeah. Yes.
Sure. There are some.
So that's what's going on. If you're in mature like woods, right, and you can find copper stuff there, it's all out of context at that point, because over 4,500 to 10,000 years, so many trees fall over, so many animals dig things up, and that they're digging up those copper artifacts, and that's how they're found. Some of my best sites are flat ground on water that is about to get developed, because they're moving all the dirt around, and then you find everything there, right? Because majority of these copper sites out in the middle of the woods, you're only getting a fraction of it. You really are.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think when you start talking about 5,000, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 years ago, we can hear the number, we can understand how big a number that is, but it is so unrelatable. You know what I mean? It just seems so unrelatable. I guess if it's somebody like you that spends a lot of time kind of studying, thinking in those terms, maybe it means something more to you than to me, but all I know is it's just darned old. You know what I mean? Like that's a long time ago. And you would just think that development would completely erase everything over that long a time. But how do you reconcile that? Like, how do you reconcile when you're holding something that's 8,000 years old in your hand?
I mean, I say it a lot of my videos. I'm like, guys, no one has touched this in 8,000 years. I'm the first man to hold this again in that long of time. And it's one of those things, no matter how much knowledge you have or how much knowledge you think you have on the old copper culture, it's still, it's hard to grasp, right? It kind of takes, you gotta wait for the adrenaline to go down and for you to go home that night. And then you're kind of laying in your bed, you know, kind of touching it and looking at it and being like, oh my gosh, this is the oldest metalworking in the world that I'm holding in my hand. And a Native American made this, and this was used for hunting and his survival. He needed this artifact to live. So yeah, it's mind-blowing for sure.
I think we struggle with putting it in context because we have reference points in history that we can relate the relics and artifacts that we find, you know, say, oh, this is pre-Civil War, 1850s. You have a spot in history where you can say, okay, this is kind of how they were living during that time. But you're talking, we don't have a relatable time that we really can say 8,000 years ago, and really understand what everything was like. Honestly, I mean, it was so different.
Oh yeah, no, it was a different place back then. I mean, the water levels were higher, and we were talking about this before. So, like, I've found artifacts, copper artifacts, in like high spots, way far from the river. Right, that used to be swamp, but back during the archaic time period, that used to be a bayou or a peninsula, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of different variables. There's a science to it, when it comes to scouting and finding these sites. And really, at the end of the day, it's just time spent and intuition, right? And research. So it's a lot of different things.
It's funny you say it like that because the other guests that we've had on that have also been in the Midwest and copper culture and those kind of different things, the same exact philosophy, ideas, visions, it's all those kind of the same exact thing, intuition. And really it's more from what they've said, you're at a spot and you have more intuition rather than looking down at like a map and trying to figure it all out. You look out there, and if you've got it, you can look out there and you can see it.
I could tell stories for days, guys, about intuition when it comes to, and I don't even think intuition is the right word, but more of a spiritual. And I know that that's corny, but it's something that it's too bad not everybody can experience, right? I mean, I've found things in not only just, super rare artifacts, but just in like the weirdest ways, right? Just by accident. I know this summer I had it. I was like kind of hardly swinging my metal detector. Me and my buddy just got to the spot, me and Casey, and I thought I had an aluminum can. It was right on the surface. And we just got there, and it's like, what the heck? And I freaking kicked the ground because I'm like, oh, it's going to be an aluminum can. It was a nice 5-inch copper spearhead. And I'm like, what? How is this laying in the ground? And it was right on the deer trail. And I told Casey, I'm like, I bet someone dropped this walking out. He's like, it's like, probably not, probably a tree uprooted it, but it just blows my mind. I could tell stories like that for days, just stuff you shouldn't have found, but just end up finding it.
Yeah, it gave me goosebumps just hearing about that story.
You start thinking about how long that game trail was used, and maybe we're never going to know the exact story of the item that's dropped, but it's sure fun to sit there and speculate about it, put clues together and fit a story.
Sitting here thinking about asking permission. So, like Tony and I, and even people back east and such, you do some research, you identify this property as a potential target that might be able to reveal some cool historical relics. You knock on the door, you introduce yourself, you do all that stuff, and you either get one of two things. People, oh, I had no idea. Or you get, oh yeah, my great-great-great-grandfather owned this land, and yeah, this is where this used to be, this is where this used to be. But there's no point of reference for 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 years ago. Yeah. So when you show up and you're like, this is what I'm looking for, can I have permission? are they just like, no way? And then if you actually show them something, are they absolutely blown away?
It's different for everybody, right? I know a lot of people. I'll either get people that are just they want to come with me the entire time, like they'll be right over my shoulder, which I enjoy because I can explain everything to them. And then they're like, like for the first like hour, they're just like, no way. I know I did this trading post and the guy just didn't believe me. And I ended up finding some really cool stuff there. I found a trade axe and he's like, oh, wait, you are correct about that. He was trying to tell me what it was. But when it comes to the copper stuff, I've noticed that since if I would say I'm looking for like golden rings, people are like, oh, that's worth money. But with the old copper culture stuff, people don't believe me. And it's kind of worked in my advantage in a weird way where people just think, young kid, probably, has a pipe dream of some sorts. And then I end up showing them all this stuff and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you found it. And then they usually give me a lot of credit, right? Which it's a lot of research I put into this stuff. It wasn't just luck. And then it ends up being where they normally don't want any of it. I've had like a few weeks ago, apology guys, someone's going on the other side of the door. But a few weeks ago, I had the landowner. He wanted a few of the spear points, which I was perfectly fine with, right? Because I think the landowner should have a few of the copper spearheads. I got photos of them, documented all of it, but it's just kind of one of those things, case by case basis,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We were talking before the show tonight. Documentation is really important to you.
Yes.
As I think it should be. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about that? Because like you said, you're in school now for archaeology, but even probably before that, you probably learned early on that documentation was what you were going to probably be about.
So what I do is I create site maps. I use a few apps. The one I usually use is Onyx. So I get all the marks on there, take the GPS coordinates, get everything marked. I have sites with hundreds of dots on them, right? And then after that, I'll create site maps, overlay it with LiDAR so I get everything just right. And then to go along with that, each one of my frames, their site frames, have everything labeled. Documentation is key. And then that's why I kind of started getting into the social media aspect of it too, because I like to take videos and photos, right? Like how deep down was that spearhead found? Helps out a lot, right? They say, a photo's worth 1,000 words, right? So a video, what is that worth? It's worth even more than that, I think.
Yeah. It's definitely impressive. I know that I was watching some of your stuff, and how important is soil condition? Like we Tony and I talk about all the time here. In Colorado, is soil very loamy and sometimes sandy, and it can protect relics extremely well. Like we'll pull buttons out that look like the day they were dropped, just fine detail. How important is that to you? And does that ever change the area you're looking in? In other words, does that affect your decision on an area you're going to look in?
No, it doesn't change it because my perspective is of the research mindset, right? I'm not trying to find, the best quality pieces. It's locating sites, right? The big challenge I've run into is the time of development, right? So many places are being built upon, whether it's houses, subdivisions, boat landings. Those are killer around here. But yeah, so soil conditions, I know last weekend, the soil is fairly bad in the Midwest. Of course, it depends what region you're in. So when we were melee detecting along this bayou, I found this crescent knife. It was about 30 yards up from the bayou, 7,000-year-old piece, super uncommon, really good shape. And then I went closer to the bayou, which is now a swamp. During the Archaic, that all would have been water. And I was like 10 feet from it. Soil totally changed, turned into this kind of mucky mud with kind of loomy soil as well. And yeah, this A1 triangulate spear point, 5-6 inches long. Actually, the spear point itself was about 20% silver. So it had silver mixed in with the copper. But right when I found it, you could hardly even tell it was a spear point, right? But I got home, put my glue solution on it, kind of cleaned the dirt up, and I'm like, okay, it's not so bad. But comparing it to that crescent knife, right, with the different soil conditions, it's light and day difference for sure.
We had a picture of that, I think, that crescent knife, didn't we?
Yeah. Is this it?
Yeah, that would be it. So the crescent knife is under the A1 triangulate spearhead, which is in the middle of my hand. So it's sitting on my palm.
Okay, and explain why that's a crescent knife.
So
just the shape of it?
Yeah, the shape. So have you guys ever seen, like, not the regular circle pizza cutter, but like the one that like kind of has the handle like this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's called an ulu. I think it's like an ulu.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what that crescent knife would have been. And that would have been an excellent tool for scraping white-tailed deer hides and elk, right? For hiding them and fleshing. That's what those would have been used for. So you have two different types of old copper culture knives. You have crescents and then more straight back style knives. Each category you can date and find the certain age of them. But yeah, crescents, they're the oldest style by far. That thing is probably 8,000 to 7,000 years old. So that site's produced a lot of them. I've been fortunate.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then tell us a little bit more about those two spear points or spearheads.
So the one in the middle of my hand, that's the A1 triangulate. It has a median ridge extending from the tip all the way to the base. Fantastic piece. That's 7,000, 8,000 years old as well. And then you have the rat tail spear point near my fingers, and that's 6,000 to 7,000. And I know that. I know it's easy to say, give you guys those dates, but it's all about styles. So just like stone points, just like buns, any relic, you can look at it, classify it by the style of it and its features. So that's what those artifacts are.
So on the A, what did you call the middle one? The A what?
A1 triangulate.
Okay. Would that have that was designed to have a spear going into it, right? Like inside of the metal.
Socket. The socket would have went inside of it.
Oh, sure. Okay. And then the rat tail one would have been opposite, right? That would have been like a tang.
Yeah, so that would have been embedded in the socket. So if I had different angles of it, you guys could see it better. But yeah, so the socket would go inside of the A1 triangulate, and then the rat tail would be kind of like how a knife handle is, more or less, right?
And that's what you talked about, like by design, so that because they were designed during those certain times like that, that's how you could be able to get a pretty good date on them.
Yeah, and it's all about, technology advances over time, right? And so does styles, right? We see it in fashion today. So like that A1, the copper would have went outside the socket, the rat tail would have went inside the shaft. So, yeah.
Greysen, I hate to burst your bubble, buddy, but that middle one is off the top of a fence post.
I had multiple guys comment that on that reel, and they're like, I saw it on, I forgot the name of the show.
Detectorists.
Yeah, that's what they were saying, and I'm like, bro, no.
Oh my gosh!
I can't blame you for thinking that. But.
Have you seen that little clip on that show for that scene there?
I think I watched it when I was a kid, actually.
Oh my god!
I thought it was funny when the guy said it, for sure.
Yeah. They're in absolute amazement. And they're like, it's Roman, right? Oh yeah, it could be. Absolutely. Hey, go clean it over there in the tank. And he walks over and the fence is right there. And it's literally the top of the fence.
That's amazing, man. That just
incredible piece though. Wow.
Appreciate it.
And I was laughing earlier when you said you and your buddies like call each other from the field, because Tony and I'll do that too. You know, like sometimes we don't get a chance. We hunt together all the time. He's my digging partner, and every now and then we go out without each other, you know, somewhere or whatever. And then all of a sudden I'll get a FaceTime. And I look at like when he found his gold coin, FaceTime. And I go, oh, it's got to be something good. And then the expression on his face where he's just like, I was like, uh-oh, show me. What is it? And then I'm in my office screaming and yelling, right? And the coworkers are coming in like, what? Are you okay?
Yeah. That my last reel I posted, I got the start of the reel is Jared running over to me, because Jared he doesn't have his phone on him. So I always have to shout for the guy. And if we're out like doing a big property, I have to shout pretty loud. So right before I show the spear point, I see him running across the field and he's all excited for me. So yeah, it's always a blast.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You got a group of guys that, you know, you're all doing the same studies and you do the metal detecting together, or is this just kind of an offset that you've got maybe separate from school?
It's an offset from school, right? Like I was saying to you guys before, the archaeologist community is somewhat reprehensive of metal detectors and collecting. What they don't understand how far technology has come in the metal detecting world, right? And because of that, I am trying to kind of combine the two groups, right? Archaeology and metal detecting. So the guys I go out with all have the same philosophy as I do. They all document their stuff, use GPS, LiDAR, overlay it, make site maps, have everything individually documented in the site, like the little artifacts with the paper labels, and then they have site frames. The main guy I go out with, because he's like my brother, his name's Jared Jaminski. He was my wrestling coach my senior year of high school. So that would have been last year. In fact, in the locker room, some kids were talking about my YouTube channel and he overheard it. So like a week later, he's like, hey, you go out metal detecting? I'm like, yeah. So me and Jared, and then I also have another buddy named Casey. We go out a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you like what your friends and your family think of it. You know what I mean? Like, because it's a pretty unique hobby, a pretty unique interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially for kids young men your age.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's your family think? What do your do most of your friends not know?
I would say like my close friends know, but like, as you guys know, like you guys are metal detectors, right? It's hard to explain to people what you're finding. They just kind of look at you like a nerd sometimes, right? Or they just pretend like they're interested and they're really not. So it's like, yeah, if they ask me about it, they're like, hey, I saw this on, your story or your Instagram or your Facebook or your YouTube, then I'll show them stuff and explain it to them. But there's still kind of that divide there, because like sometimes they don't believe me what I'm telling them, right, about these copper artifacts, which I get. Like it's mind blowing to me as well. But yeah, I guess my dad, he helps me out a lot. So like all my site frames, my dad designs for me, which is really nice of him. He enjoys doing it. So my dad's really cool that way. So my family's very supportive of it. They think it's awesome.
Very cool.
I think the perception when you say you're a detectorist is still that old fat guy like in a Speedo on the beach, with like 1,000 gold chains around his neck and, that kind of thing. And so when you tell them that, they equate it to, the get rich quick scheme versus, the three of us are more interested in the history, the preservation, the recovery, all those kind of different things of items that are long dropped versus, an earring that was dropped yesterday at the beach. So
for sure. And it's saving history too, right? I mean, time and development destroys so many sites, and it's unfortunate. Wherever you are in North America, sites are being destroyed every day. So it's the good apples out there that know their history and are willing to spend the time to save it. So it's a really beautiful thing.
It's funny. I can't tell you how many times Ken and I have been doing research on maps, and I'll send him something and go, oh my gosh, let me look at this overlay. And all of a sudden it's like Walmart is over the top of it. And you're like, oh my gosh, that was going to be, just a month-long, trip that we would be out on. And there's,
that history's gone for quite a long
concrete
time.
jungle over the top of it now.
Yeah, you could always ask the employees, like, hey, do you know where those dirt piles are from the parking lot?
Right.
I've done that before. I've never found anything that way, but you never know.
Sure.
I'm in construction, so I'm always looking at dirt piles a different way, You're digging up the volleyball court over there? Okay. All kinds of different stuff. But everyone always wants to know how much it's worth. You know what I mean? Like when you talk to people about your metal detectors, oh, what's the coolest thing you found? And how much is it worth? Like, that's what they want to know, And you're just like, well, the most things I would find, you wouldn't find the slightest bit interesting at all. It's going to look like a bunch of junk to you. But to me, it's a piece of history that just thrills me to death. And
exactly
thinking about the last person that held that. And going back as far as you go back, I can't even imagine. Like, we'll talk about like Jesuit rings and all that stuff, but you ever find old sort of copper culture type tools that are personalized in any way? Maybe they've got some etching on it or some kind of special.
See, I was talking to one of the old timers. He has a massive collection. He's been a lifetime metal detectorist. And I asked him that question last weekend. So for every 25 finished copper knives or ovates, which is a type of spearhead, about 1 in every 25 will have etching on them. So it's very uncommon. So last weekend I found a bead. I found a few beads before, but I haven't found etching. And etching on copper spearheads and knives is personal as heck. Yeah. And I think it would be pretty cool, but just haven't been lucky enough yet to find that.
But is that sort of a really desirable thing you're looking for? I know with Tony and I, with the relics, we collect anything personal, anything with a name, a marking, anything we can identify and research. Going back that far, but you just know it's a personal effect. For sure. And it must be just amazing for something that old to have a personal effect on it.
Yeah. I mean, my 3 top bucket listers are a knife or a spearhead with etching. I also want to find a pendant, and then adze and a celt. So adze would have been used for creating dugout canoes. Have you guys ever heard of those before?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So you can get them pretty big. It's a heavy piece of copper. So I would say probably adze is on my bucket list. That's like the most uncommon copper artifact to find. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to timing and luck, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Do you find yourself hunting for, you say they overlap a lot, but fur trade sites versus copper culture sites?
I go through phases. So at the beginning of this summer, I was interested in fur trade, and now it's more copper again. It just kind of depends. Like, I'll get it in my head. So it's a research thing for me. I'll be on Onyx, Google Earth, LiDAR, and I'll just see a property that just kind of looks good, and I won't be able to get it all in my head. So after that, I'll go get permission for it. If I can't get permission for it, then I'll kind of, start looking for, fur trade in that area. Wait a little bit, go up to that door again, because I don't have any quit at all when it comes to permission, even if it's a hard no. And then once I actually get permission for it, then it's kind of like, ooh, copper culture or ooh, fur trade. So I go through phases.
What's the longest you've tried? Go ahead, Tony.
Nope, go ahead. You got
What's the longest you've tried to get a permission?
So there's a place called, and I'm fine saying this because like it doesn't exist. It's called the Burnt Grounds, and it was one of the largest Native American village sites from the 1700s in my area, and it's supposed to be right where my house is. So I have spent way too long trying to find that. I've went through, archaeologists that I know very well because I'm going to school for archaeology, trying to pull up old records, talk to other metal detectorists and a lot of different people. But what it looks like, and I never, where it says it exactly is, I never could get permission for it. I asked the guy about 3-4 times, and he was just one of those old guys where I just couldn't tell if like he was just kind of like not lying to me, but not being truthful about it. Cause he was like, yeah, I've had this farm for a long time. And you really wouldn't answer my question if you knew like if any Native American fur trade relics were found there. But I would say, yeah, the site literally where I live, right where my house sits, which is upsetting for sure.
Keep at it. Keep at it. You'll find it.
Appreciate
for
it.
sure. Wow, man. I can if I so like written material, written media. You know, if we're looking for Civil War relics, there's written media out there. Maybe people that have written about it in the past, old letters home from the Civil War soldiers that you can locate, diaries, stories that you can look up that point you in certain directions. Well, you don't have that written media for 6,000, 8,000 years ago. So is there any written media you do for research? Like, are you just looking maybe into old fur trade relic hunters maybe that had written about it? Is it more of a communal thing of, you know, because like in town, we can go to the local coffee shop and talk to the old guy sitting there, right? And he can tell us like, well, my grandmother remembers the circus used to be over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so like, as I mentioned before, fur trade and old copper culture, they overlap. Not only the guys that, you know, if you look for copper, you look for fur trade. And that the same thing goes for like the sites as well. Right. So like there's the old French journals. If you can get your hands on them, they can point you in the right direction. I haven't had any luck with that. But like the original plat maps for my area helps me out a lot when it comes to old copper culture sites, because those French British maps show what the water looked like before the rivers were dammed. So that helps me out for not only fur trade, but copper as well. So
good point. Yep. Good point.
I think you had mentioned earlier about when you recover the artifacts and in terms of cleaning and preserving, how far, what's the extent that you usually go, or techniques that you use, or anything like that?
So copper, the less you can do to it, the better, right? It's the same thing with the copper coin, like a large cent, right?
Sure.
The most I do, so like if a spearhead is in really bad condition, I'll put a glue solution on it. So it basically allows you to still be able to handle it. It holds it together. But other than that, like I stress it so much. All my buddies that have gone into the hobby, just like the like, don't even run water on it. Like I'll take a wooden toothpick, clean the dirt off. I even leave the dirt in the socket of the spearhead so they can get C14 dated someday. And yeah, the less you can do, the better.
Do you ever get them C14 dated?
It costs $800 to $600.
Does it?
As a college student, I do not have the funds right now, sadly.
Yeah, man, that would be amazing. Though.
Question real quick. It said blue solution, or did you say glue, like Elmer's glue type of solution?
Glue solution, correct.
Yeah, little lightened up glue. We had some other questions that came in, didn't we, Tony?
Yeah, we've got a couple here. Gosh, I think this one's good. Dirt Digging Historian says, have you ever found something of historical relevance and felt confused as to what you should do? Something that you were like, wow, this really is pretty significant. So, or is all of it, you consider all of it significant because it's you know, so old, and so you're documenting it.
Yeah, it all is. So my main focus is saving these history from the site I am on, right? So where I focus my most time is areas that are being, you know, in development or about to be development, because that produces the most artifacts because the dirt's all moved around. So I'm saving that history. Like I mentioned before, this stuff is the archaic layer in the ground from where I am in the Midwest is 2 to 3 feet, right?
Yeah.
Metal detectors don't get that far. So if you're in mature woods, you're only finding those copper artifacts because a tree has fallen over the past 10,000 years. So that's what my goal is for those two reasons. You find the most, you can save the most, and you're saving it, right? So I do developed areas. That's where I focus. But dirt digging historians question, like if I found something I believe that should go to like the Native American tribes or a
Sure.
museum, my argument for that is, if let's say I would find like a copper peace pipe, right? Or just something that is like one of a kind, no one has ever seen it, I would talk to the tribes about that 100%. I'd get what they think about that because it does matter. It was their people. After that, I would, talk to some of my colleagues in the archaeology field, see what they think about it. But if it's, that significant, they probably don't have a grasp. But yeah, and when it comes to museums too, I think museums are a great thing. But me posting this stuff on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, more people get to enjoy it that way, right? And these videos, they share a lot more about the entire experience, better angles, and something behind, glass that you can't touch, right? So
Sure.
That's what I think.
How do we breach that cavern between archaeologists and hobbyists that are interested, like we are, in history and protecting these relics? Because they would say, many of them would say, as soon as you pull something out of the ground, you're destroying so much of, the flora, fauna, all the parts and pieces. I'm not an archaeologist, so I don't know the terminology, but you're basically destroying it at that point. And relic hunters would be like, no, we're saving it, because really, are archaeologists going to come along and dig this site over here in the back of my house for, this Civil War relic that I'm looking for? I guess if it's more historically pertinent or important, that might be something, but they won't, survey the entirety of our world here. You know what I mean? So how do you make the argument for them that you should not be doing this? You know what I mean? Not be destroying these relic sites.
So I could talk about this for hours straight, and I'm being serious when I say that. I think the biggest thing that it comes down to is North American archaeology as a whole, right? Compared to other continents, right? Like look at like Europe as a country. Their relationship with Melitectorus is so different than how we have it in North America. We have a divide here. And development in North America too is just speeding up faster and faster and faster. So this is something I like to say. Doing nothing is not a solution, right? Sitting back and just watching these sites being destroyed, that's not solving the problem at all. Archaeology is a great thing. That's why I'm going to school to be an archaeologist, right? I learn a lot here, right? And also, like, I do believe context and provenience of these artifacts, whether it's, dating it from faunal analysis, etc., that needs to be done. There's a time and a place for that. And overall, it's a great thing. But we have to be, you can't be ignorant to the fact what is happening in North America when it comes to these sites. I wish it wasn't that way, but it's the world we live in. So we have to, people need to be leaders in this, right? Melitectorists need to share the knowledge that they have about these sites, right? And look at the facts. Like I said, the context and the provenience isn't being destroyed on these copper sites. This stuff is already out of context if you're finding it in mature woods. And on the, the sites that are developed, you find a lot more because the dirt's being moved around. Nothing's being destroyed. And when you get into fur trade relics, right, that's even more of a sad story, I should call it, because majority of the fur trade sites are underwater from the dams. The fur traders would want to be right on the water so they could trade, right on the banks on a lot of these sites. So unless if you have a trading post or a large Native American village, it's going to be underwater. So the damage has already been done. It's a race against time at this point. It really is.
Amazing answer. I know we and a couple of our buddies, we've got permission at a pretty historic site that, once I was there for the first time, my question was, why does the state want nothing to do with this site? And it's a shame that, not there hasn't been more organized effort to document and save this history, and that it's just there for whomever, whatever. I mean, it's a shame.
And it comes down to techniques too, right? Like we were talking about before, if archaeologists, and I've worked with archaeologists in metal detected sites before, they're blown away. They're like, how did you find all that?
Right.
It's mind blowing what the technology can do now. You can survey a site, like I can do you could put me anywhere and I can survey a site and I even have to dig a signal and I know it's copper just from the multi-frequency and the Equinox detectors. So it's they haven't updated to the times, and I understand it why they haven't. But yeah, if you're gonna go, like, let's say there's a trading post, survey it and like do a few test excavation holes with a sifter, you're not gonna get the whole story like you would with a metal detector.
Why would, I'll keep following along this theme, okay?
Yeah.
So why would an archaeologist, group of archaeologists, not want to collect if the effort was being done to locate and identify? And I'll give you an example. Tony and I were brought in to help locate and identify either the existence or the non-existence of a possible location of an old Civil War era fort, training fort here in Colorado from 1864. So our group was brought out to either find relics that would prove its location was there in a suspected location, or not find any, at which point they could cross that off the thing. So everything we found there had to be uncovered, identified, which we were instrumental in because we find so many of the typical artifacts. They didn't know, how do you know that's a, this or that, but then they would rebury them. So they would rebury them where they stood. And that was their,
philosophy, their
take on it. I forget what they call it now.
Procedure.
Yeah.
I know the word that and when I say archaeologist, that's a broad term. I would say it's 80% of archaeologists don't agree with metal detecting because they believe it's bad ethics, right? Of course, that depends where you are in the US. Of course it does. But at least for my region, it's about 80%. And how they describe it is ethics. Okay. They look at artifacts and relics in a way where it's not about, how uncommon or what the artifact says. It's the context with it, right? So for example, if you find a feature, like a trash pit feature, and inside that feature from the archaic time period, you find a nice big spear point. What does the copper spear point say about the feature that's in? And that's a great question, and that's a great thing. But the artifacts themselves say a lot too, if you know a lot about the artifacts. And that's kind of the divide right now between archaeologists and metal detectorists. Metal detectorists have the mindset they need to know everything, right? I'm sure you guys know a lot about overall history, whether it's Native American, bottles, relics, Civil War, Rev War, etc. And archaeologists are very general in what they like to study. It's either lab, historic, prehistoric, lithic, ceramics, etc. So both groups love history, and that's what I don't get. So I don't get why we don't see eye to eye. But there's just a few bad apples in like the 1970s through the 1990s, and you can't blame them because technology wasn't that good then. But they would just find all these awesome Native American copper spearheads, fur trade, stone points, and shove them all in frames and make them look super cool. And all the context was lost. But technology's gotten so good now. And time and development is just increasing so much where us both groups need to see eye to eye. It's a must at this point because
Absolutely.
history is being lost.
Yeah, and if we did see more eye to eye, the two working in tandem would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I feel, every time Ken and I have worked with archaeologists, they've been absolutely amazed at what we've been able to help them with, to document and write more of the story to it. So, I don't know.
We've gone over to England also to kind of look for older stuff that we can find here in the States. But and it's different over there too, right? They have a they have a Treasures Act, they have a archaeology scheme or whatever they call it, and they do see it differently. They have so many relics in the ground because it goes back, a lot longer than here, but still only a few thousand years old. And they have a different relationship with archaeologists back then. They don't necessarily like them better because they can be kind of pompous and it's sort of a different take than here. Like here, I don't think we see archaeologists are being pompous and sort of overstepping. It's just they have their own take on it, which sometimes butts up against a metal detectorist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with like cops. I always use that analogy. Some people say cops are all good. Some people say cops are all bad. Yeah, there's bad cops out there, but majority of them are good. And archaeologists, it's the same way. You have some that are a little ignorant, but it's just the majority of them are really good people, and they love history and they love what they're doing, and they have a lot of knowledge. And archaeology, there's a reason why I'm going to school for it. I do love it, and I learn a lot. I owe a lot of my research that I have done through what I've learned at school. But yeah, I think North America, the US, is just a little behind Europe and other countries when it comes to metal detecting. And it all comes down to money. It really does. And just kind of philosophy at the same time too, even though the core of it's all still there, like loving history, but just a little different subset, I would say.
What discipline do you think you want to take your archaeology into? Have you even started thinking about that yet?
So CRM. And so what that is, so when they like build a new road, put the Walmart in where that Civil War battleground is,
Yeah.
People will go there, and basically you have about 3 months to dig it up. So it's kind of fast-paced archaeology. Just basically, let's see what we can get out of the ground, document it to the best of our ability, and then catalog it. So that's what I will be doing.
Nice.
Cool.
And focused in the United States, Midwest, even.
I kind of like South America a lot. That'll be something later in my life I will be doing my own research on. But
interesting.
For the next 10 years, strictly Native American artifacts. Whether, awesome. And I talk about fur trade like it's Native American because the French and the British were trading with the Native Americans. So, yeah, anything. I love the Native American stuff. It's fascinating. It's the less information is known about it. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in Native American archaeology.
Teresa, the treasure hunter, said, clarify, what does CRM stand for?
You knew she was going to ask the question. Way to go, Teresa.
I can Google it right now. I think, I know the M stands for management, I would assume.
Crazy relic management?
That's it?
No, to be honest, guys, I don't know. But that is what I wanted.
That's what it does, yeah.
In the future.
Man, I agree with you for South America, dude. That'd be so much fun, man. I know.
It would be sick.
I didn't know anything about the Kalima culture until a friend of mine actually bought a piece of the famous Forrest Fenn treasure that was found not too long ago. And he bought this breastplate, this gold breastplate that was from the Kalima culture back. I don't know how many years ago that was now, 1200 BC or something like that. But yeah, pretty amazing. I just dig the artistry, and the designs of all these different relics and artifacts I see come up out of South America are just so attractive to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, even looking at the LiDAR, it freaking will blow you away if you look at some of those images of those, temples and structures that they have down there. And it's just such dense forest and jungle where not a lot of those buildings haven't been discovered yet. There hasn't been a person there in thousands of years. So I think it's interesting. I really do.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Hey, you want to get to some more pictures? And
yeah. We've been talking a lot about thought and philosophy and background and history, but God, I want to see some of the stuff.
Let's
it's pretty amazing.
This is from our thumbnail that we've got for the show tonight. So everybody's going to see this. So I'm sure there's going to be some stories about this one. This looks like a pretty good little spearhead. When did you get this one?
So that was 4 days ago. I think that was this weekend. A1 triangulate. Those are my favorite spearheads to find because they have the median ridge on them, and they're just, it looks like a Roman or Greek spearhead, but it's Native American, and it's a lot older than a Roman or Greek spearhead. That one in particular is around 8,000 years old. So oldest metalworking in the world right there in my hand. And just awesome spearhead.
Wow.
You say sometimes you do find artifacts where they've mixed in silver.
So that one in particular is, I estimate it to be about 20% silver because you got to remember, it's about probably 4 meters thick to 5 meters, the spearhead itself. So on the entire part of the socket on the left side is all silver up to the kind of the A1 triangulate part where it kind of goes to a 9-degree angle, right where my one finger is. And then I still need a little, kind of take a toothpick to it because there's still a lot of dirt on it. But it's probably on from the outside, I'm estimating probably about 20% because there has to be a lot of silver on the inside of it too. So whenever you find a copper spearhead with silver in it, it's just even more rare and says a lot about it too, because it's what's the cultural significance of a piece like that?
Right.
Because copper was preferred to use for tools back then in the old copper culture. So why did they make that spear point with silver in it? Was it by mistake or was it just desirable because silver is a little bit more rare than copper is?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I'm so ignorant when it comes to older cultures like that. Did that time period ever use gold in more traditional or dress, beads, or decoration?
Never. So it's called the old copper culture for a reason. Great question. You would think they would because, copper and silver, where's the gold at? But there's just not much gold in my region in the Midwest. But the silver artifacts, silver being in copper spearheads or any copper artifact is about the same percent as finding etchings on a knife or a spear point. It's for every 25 pieces, you'll get one with silver in it. But that A1 triangulate in particular has a lot of silver.
That's interesting.
Class A piece for sure.
How many of these pieces do you I know you said you tend to give a lot away. You've documented them, those kind of different things. You're good at giving them to the landowners. How many of these spearheads do you have? How much copper do you have as displays or those kind of things?
Before you answer that, actually, let me give you my address real quick. I've located at here's my mailing address, Greysen. Go ahead. Now, what were you going to say?
So I would say finished pieces, I probably have around 100. So what I mean by finished pieces, that means copper knives, spearheads, awls, which would have been basically as a needle, harpoons, other copper tools, pendants, beads, probably around 100 pieces. But really, is it awesome to look at copper A1 triangulates with silver in them? Yeah, but it's more about every copper artifact, no matter what it is, it's just finding it and documenting it, right? Getting the coords for it, making those site maps. even like not only for the archaeology of it, but it helps me a lot because I have hundreds of permissions at this point. It really helps me out when I go back to a site I haven't been to in a while. I can just pull up my phone, like where was all majority of this stuff found at, right? And then what areas do I need to spend more time in? Especially for large acreage of land, it helps out a lot.
Nice. We've got an interesting piece here. I wanted to pull this one.
It's a stick. That's a cool looking stick.
Yeah, look at that. It's a nice. Is that cedar?
I think it's oak or elm or something.
Guys, that's a copper harpoon.
Oh,
right when I found it, I told Jared it looks like a flower, and he laughed at me. Like, yeah, well, yeah. I thought it does.
It's a rose stem, yeah.
Yeah, but so it looks like. So you can see the one barb right there in the middle of the photo with it laying in the dirt, and then it looks like above the barb, going vertically, that would be the spearhead. That's actually not the spearhead. That would have been embedded in the bone or wooden shaft of this harpoon. It's actually broken where the tip would have been, and most likely would have had 2 to 3 more barbs on that harpoon. This would have been a large copper piece and embedded in a large wooden shaft of sorts, and this would have speared carp to sturgeon to just small fish. Where I found this was on a bayou. This is swamp now, but it all would have been water during the archaic time. Water levels were higher back then, so they were harpooning fish in this bayou. So that artifact says a lot, and since I have the context of where it was found, it makes it even more special. And it's broken too, so what's the story behind that? Did it hit a rock? Did it hit a big fish in the water? Who knows? But yeah, it's a really cool piece.
So do you think when that went down and then maybe another barb, it went to a tip, do you think it was a fashioned tip similar to almost what the other side looks like? Or did it just go to a tip from that? Have you ever seen a full one?
Yeah, so I was looking at some this weekend in person. My buddy Doug Miller, he's a good friend of mine. He has one of the best copper collections in the world. Yeah, and he has the same philosophy that I do on, getting GPS coordinates, documenting it to the fullest extent. And the copper harpoons that he has, the spear head itself on the harpoon would have had a barb. So like the best way I can explain it, it wouldn't be like how this is on the other end. It would have been kind of like that A1 trianglet. It would have that tip of that spear, but just smaller version. And then it would also be barbed out to either the right or the left side, kind of like how it's barbed in the middle of this copper harpoon on the unbroken portion. But yeah, the spearhead would have had a barb on it.
I'm curious, would those barbs generally, I'm sure there's exceptions, but would they be on one side or would they alternate sides with them?
So muskrat spears from the fur trade, they alternate. So that's a really good question. These copper harpoons, most of the time, 90% of the time, they're all on one side, which is actually very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I need to do more research on why they would do that, comparing them to muskrat spears, but most definitely they would have been on the same side.
One day somebody went, we should put them on both sides. You're a genius. Oh my gosh. We kept missing these fish. I don't know why we kept missing them.
I think that's a fantastic piece and very interesting to talk about. And again, it was a part of it was a way of life. That was their survival. I mean, and to me, that's such a valuable piece to survival back then. And I just think that's fantastic.
Bill Ohio Relic Hunter had the answer for us anyways. He said it got broke because it hit a steelhead. Steelhead cat. That's why it was broke. Well, everyone knows that, Bill. I mean, come on.
I've got this one's really interesting to me, and I want to hear some stories about this. But these are side plates that are just absolutely incredible. I know this isn't copper culture.
Yeah, so that's fur trade. I would say those 3 serpents, I mean, they are my babies. So as you can see from the photo down below, that would have went on the side portion of a musket, a French or British musket. So it would have been a side plate. They're depicting serpents, dragons, but they're very rare to be complete.
Sure.
Actually, so when I found my first one, it was right when I started really detecting heavily, and a lot of my colleagues and my friends that also melitect thought I was planning my finds. And then I found 3, and it got a lot worse than that because 2 of them are complete, and then the one's slightly broken. And the reason why it is so rare to find them complete is because the Native Americans would buy these serpent side plate muskets. They would trade more furs for a musket with the serpent side plate because they believed it depicted the water spirit, which is a mythical being in Native American religion of sorts and culture. So you have thunderbirds and water spirits. So they believe the dragon depicted the water spirit. So when the musket would stop working, like when it would malfunction or it just break, they would believe it was because the dragon on the rifle or the musket was cursing them. So they would cut them in half. And once they would cut them in half, they would make jewelry and ornamental pieces out of the water spirit or the dragon that came off the side plate of these muskets. So they're very rare to find complete like this.
Incredible.
Do your friends call you Daenerys?
What does that mean?
I was referencing sort of Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones because she had 3 baby dragons that she was the mother of, and you called these your babies, and so I thought I'd give you the reference there of Daenerys. We're going to start calling him. Your new name is Daenerys, Greysen.
That's it.
We'll start calling you Daenerys. But these are French musket.
French or British. I believe these to be British because of the style of them. The French ones have a different nose shape on the serpent. But yeah, these would have been early 1700s to like 1790. Northwest and Hudson Bay trade guns they would have went on. So yeah, very rare pieces. And I mean, they're just sick. It's kind of hard from the photos to kind of talk about them because you got to hold them in your hand. And when you have 3 of them and they're complete, it's pretty cool looking at those things.
Can only imagine.
Yeah.
And then the stones in your hand, was that onyx and chert or something like that? Or
those are gun flints. So
are they really?
Yeah. So the ember
kidding.
ones, those are French, and then the 3 black ones nearest to my fingers are British.
Amazing.
Wow. And to find those, and you found them all very close within proximity of each other?
So, yeah. So the one serpent side plate was at a trading post site that me and my buddy were excavating. And this trading post is like right under a bridge. So think about that for a second. We got permission for the property. I just couldn't believe it. I found a trigger guard there originally, and then we started excavating it. I had it all gridded out, and we dug there, and we found over probably 15 gun flints at this point, and 4 of those were French. So like what I was talking about before, the artifacts say a lot about what was happening in an area, right? No matter if it's, a slave tag or a coin, but when it comes to like this French stuff and old copper, by those gun flints, we could tell who was trading at that trading post. It was both the French and the British by those gun flints. So amazing piece of history there.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Again, great story being able to tell it with what you find.
Yeah, so cool, man. That is just so cool.
For sure. Let's do one more picture here, and we're gonna kind of go with the fireworks here. There's a lot to look at here, and this kind of just shows the full gamut. And
so I gotta give full credit to my father. He put those sight frames in order. He displayed them, but yeah, each one of those frames are sight frames. So that's all the copper I found at those sites, and I do it that way so they represent the site as a whole, right? Like, would it be pretty to put all my nicest spearheads and all my knives in one frame? Yes, it would be, but a little bit more philosophy. I'm going to say this. I ask all metal detectors this question. Once you metal detect a site, where is that spirit of the site held? Is it where that site was, or is it actually the site frame once you have everything from that site inside that frame? So I want you guys to think about that. And that's my philosophy when it comes to this. So yeah, my dad did a very great job. He was super excited with it. I sent the photo to a few of my buddies, and my good friend Coach Jared, he was like, that almost brought me to tears because he was with me for a lot of those sites and gave me what he found. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, you just take one of those boxes, upper left, let's say. You just take one of those boxes. Not only does it represent well and contain the history of that site that you detected, but you have a lot of personal attachment to everything in that box. You have all the memories of who you were with, the things you experienced, the excitement, the revelation, the challenge to get permission, then the finding and the, the feeling of success of actually finding what you were looking for when you look at that one box. Then anybody that looks at that box and you tell them all about it, you're also sharing that information and that history with them. Then they have their own experience about it. So yeah, I mean, this one little box, there's a lot of power there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Yeah. I mean, your dad. Yeah. Let him know, man. That's an amazing piece.
He's got some fans over here in Colorado for sure. It's pretty amazing, man. Well done. Well done. Well, let's talk about. We haven't got too much longer left. You got any questions for Greysen? Go ahead and give us a shout. We had a couple of them that came in. I think we got to much. Let me see. Is there any other? Are there any geographical or topographical features that you like to target as a good possible location?
So, it depends what region you're in. I know super hot spots. I like to look for an area that's about to be destroyed, because when that ground, like right before they put a house on it, they move all that dirt around. That's when it is best, because the archaic layer is so down deep. But let's say if you wanted to go, look in mature woods, the best thing is a creek that comes out to a body of water, whether that's a lake or river, and finding the highest and flattest spot that would hold the most people at one time. Now, there's limitations to that. There's the difference between summer and winter campsites as well. So there's a lot of variables to it. But yeah, water is key. LiDAR is a great tool.
Yeah. What about your favorite piece, man? What would you say is your favorite piece? Come on, you didn't have one pop in your head immediately?
I would have to say, like, if I'm going to be honest, it was probably either the first arrowhead I found or that first copper conical spearhead. Yep. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff that's more uncommon than that, but you can never beat that first feeling, right?
Yep.
You're right. Great answer, man.
Absolutely.
It is a great answer.
Yep.
Because you can't. That's
can't recreate it. You never go back on it.
You. It defines almost everything that came after, right? So
it does.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Okay, how about white whale? So that's something that you've never found. You always thought you probably should have by now, or that you will someday. You just haven't found it yet.
So my dad always gives me crap because for the last 2 years, I've been saying how I want to find a silver cross from the fur trade.
I was going to ask you.
I would say that, but right now, so that would be overall. But right now, in the last probably 2 months, I've been really shooting for a copper adze or a copper celt. Those are the two most. And my buddy found a beautiful one last weekend too. He was water detecting, and I was super happy for him. But that's what's been on my mind probably for the last week.
Wow.
I was going to ask you if you found any Jesuit rings or the crosses. What do they call the crosses with the double? You know what I mean? They got double double legs on them. What do they call those crosses? You know which one I'm talking about? They come down and instead of just having a single cross, they have two horizontals on them.
Yeah, you're talking about the Catholic cross. That would be a Jesuit thing.
Yeah.
I do not know the term, but I can visualize it in my head right now. But yeah, so I haven't found a Jesuit ring either, which is crazy to me. They've just kind of avoided me. It's one of those things, like I said with the serpent side plates too, it's just the timing. Kind of go with streaks with stuff. But yeah, the Jesuit rings and silver crosses, anything really Jesuit has avoided me, like to the point where it's kind of ridiculous.
That's interesting.
Come on already. Right? It's out there, man. You know what's going to happen? You come on Relics Radio.
Yep.
Next time you go out, you're going to find one of those.
I hope so.
You got to let us know.
You better get a text right away for that.
That's it.
Oh,
FaceTime or something.
Seriously, yeah.
Excellent, man. Well, look, Greysen, you've been an amazing guest, man. And we've had so much fun hearing your stories and hearing your take on this thing you're passionate about. It's always good, man, when we have guests on here and they get into that. You know, they get into that. And I think anybody listening can hear, and anybody watching for sure can kind of hear where you're coming from and what drives you with all this. You know, some people can tell a good story and stuff, but I think you really let us inside on some of this stuff. And I want to thank you for that. So appreciate you giving us what you gave us tonight. It was a lot to think about. And I put myself in your position, just to be like in your shoes, discovering some of this stuff, you telling the story when you discovered it. Yeah, man, special stuff. So I hope you continue to enjoy it and discover and protect and preserve and just have a great time with it and keep documenting it, man. Absolutely.
I appreciate that. And yeah, I had a blast tonight. This was great. And yeah, I foresee myself staying with this hobby and my research and studying ancient cultures for my entire life. So yeah, I'm really passionate about it. I love it a lot.
Excellent.
So thank you guys.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man. Hey, if you want to hang out down in the green room, we'll say our goodbyes off the air. You got a couple extra minutes with us?
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Okay. Give you your last kind of shout here and then we'll put you down there.
So yeah, I do videos on my Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Greysen Reimer, that's my name. And yeah, all my videos, I do a lot of live digs. I find the oldest stuff in the world, and I'll really talk to you guys and explain it thoroughly if you check out my content. And yeah, I just love melee detecting. It's a great thing. And not only about melee detecting, it's about preserving this history and saving it and working alongside professionals and archaeologists to really figure out what truly happened in our past. So I'll leave it at that.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Good stuff, man. Thank you. We'll put you down. We'll be to you in just a minute. And, I do want to reiterate what Greysen said. We have all his links in the chat numerous times tonight. We put them in the chat. We also have them in the description down below this video. And if you happen to be listening on the audio replay on Relics Radio, wherever you can find your podcasts, the audio versions, we're going to have it in the description of the podcast so you can go click on it and visit his various social media accounts, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or even TikTok. Do you have a favorite, Greysen, of the 3 different social medias you kind of participate in?
Everybody hates on Facebook now these days. So like I've really tried hard with YouTube. I only have like 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, but Facebook, I'm probably going to hit, I'm at 12K right now.
Oh, wow. Good job, man.
So, but yeah, I would say Facebook would have to be my favorite just because I like the engagement, I like the feedback, and I like working with people on there the best.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, man. Tony, you got anything?
Yeah, just wanted to say, holy cow. I think in terms of both sides of the topic, archaeology plus metal detecting, and Greysen knocked out the park with that. I love picking his brain. Guy's got a great head on his shoulders, and I 100%, check out his links, social media, the things that he's putting out there is absolutely amazing. If you had any interest in learning, he's definitely being able to teach and show us some rare things that we don't get a lot of times to see. So I love following him and checking in on him all the time, and great stuff. You guys got to check out Greysen Reimer for sure.
Yeah, definitely go check him out. He's doing some good stuff in there, and he creates that excitement. So if you like a good story, a good journey, and also see some pretty amazing things being found that are as old can get, that's the place you need to go check out. So I wish him a ton of luck, man. He was a great guest. Yep. Absolutely great guest. Well, why don't you and I get out of here, and then we'll chat with him off the air, and then we'll let him get on with his night. But cool, man. Thanks. It was a good show, buddy.
Yep. If you guys want to check out what I'm getting into, visit me over on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all those kind of different things. 5280 Adventures. You can check me out over there. Lots of content, lots of pictures now, lots of memes, funny things going on, lots of humor.
Yeah, you've been doing a great job with that.
Good stuff.
Great job with that stuff.
Come over, visit with me, leave me some comments. Love chatting up with everybody. And I appreciate all the support, guys.
Cool. You can find me on Adventures in Dirt, anywhere on social media. I'm all over the place. I'm absolutely doing nothing on social media. I'm teasing. So go ahead and you check me out anywhere. I got a lot of stuff going back a number of years, so you can check out all my content. And if you happen to get out this weekend, be safe. Temperatures are changing. Get out there, but the relics are still there for you. The history is still there for you. And I want you all to go out and enjoy yourself. Go find it, go preserve it, but also make sure you tell me about it. Have a good week. We'll check to you next Wednesday. Good night.
Thank you so much for listening to Relics Radio. We will see you back here next week for another exciting guest. Until then, get out and dig it all.